In Module 2, Lesson 22, we'll start solving equations using algebra. Example 1, Yoshiro has a new puppy. She decides to create an enclosure for her puppy in her backyard. The enclosure is in the shape of a hexagon, which is a six-sided polygon, with one pair of opposite sides running the same distance along the length of two parallel flower beds. There are boundaries at one end of the flower beds that are 10 feet and 12 feet, respectively. That means in that order. And at the other end, the two boundaries are 15 feet and 20 feet, respectively. If the perimeter of the enclosure is 137 feet, what is the length of each side that runs along the flower bed? So we want to, first of all, draw a sketch of the puppy yard. After drawing a sketch of the enclosure, we can see that the two opposite sides that are running along the length of the two parallel flower beds have the same measurement, which is the thing that we're looking for. There are two boundaries at one end of the flower beds that are 10 and 12 feet respectively, and at the other end are 15 and 20 feet respectively. If the perimeter enclosure is 137, then what we'll need to do is write an equation to solve for n. And in looking at our equation, we can see n plus 10 plus 12 plus 15 plus 20 is equal to 137. Then if we solve, we find that we have 57 when we add the numbers on this side of the equal sign. And 137 minus 57 is 80. And following along, using those properties of equality that we explored in Lesson 21, we find that we can subtract 57 on both sides, which leaves us with 2n equals 80, and then divide both sides by 2, which gives us n equals 40. So each parallel side is 40 feet. In example 2, Jenny is on the local swim team for the summer and has swim practice 4 days per week. The schedule is the same each day. The team swims in the morning and then again for 2 hours in the evening. If she swims 12 hours per week, how long does she swim each morning? In this problem, we may be able to see the equation a little bit better if we set up a tape diagram. And our tape diagram is cut into 4 pieces because it tells us that Jenny has swim practice 4 days per week. And then inside each box, we would want to represent the amount of time that Jenny swims each day. It tells us that she swims in the morning, but it doesn't tell us how much, so that will be our variable. And then again, 2 hours in the evening. So if we use the variable x, and then add 2 to it, x plus 2 would represent how much she swims each day. So we would put that in each box. And then to solve, we can see that we have 4 x plus 2's. And altogether, she is swimming 12 hours per week. So 4 times x plus 2 is equal to 12. Since we're multiplying by 4, we could divide both sides by 4. And that would leave us with x plus 2 equals 3. And finally, we could subtract 2 from each side, since our goal is to get the variable alone on one side of the equal sign. And we find then that x equals 1. 1 hour in the morning, 2 hours in the evening. And that gives a total of 3 hours for each day. There are 4 days of practice, so 4 times 3 equals 12. That's how we double-checked our work. In summary, we work backwards to solve an algebraic equation. For example, to find the value of the variable in the equation 6x minus 8 equals 40, first of all, we'd use the addition property of equality to add the opposite of negative 8 to each side of the equation. So we're adding 8 on each side. We use the additive inverse property to show that negative 8 plus 8 equals 0. And so 6x plus 0 equals 48. Then we use the additive identity property to arrive at 6x equals 48. Then use the multiplication property of equality to multiply both sides of the equation by 1/6. Then use the multiplicative inverse property to show that 1/6 times 6 equals 1, and so 1 times x equals 8. And then use the multiplicative identity property to arrive at x equals 8.